Children are the most precious cargo, and for that reason, the State Board of Education has updated safety rules for pupil transportation. These rules have been the focus of study for over a year. The goal is to allow districts to supervise and manage the safety of pupils being transported in vehicles other than school buses when the use of a school bus is not reasonable. For the remainder of this video, we'll call these vehicles vans. Now, technically, they could be passenger cars, sedans, sport utility vehicles, Suburbans, minivans, or any other vehicle that was designed by the original equipment manufacturer for 9 or fewer passengers. It's the intent of this program, as part of the state requirements for vans, to prepare individuals to safely transport school children. Much of the curriculum is based upon the same training that every school bus driver in the state must complete. This is not a basic driving course, but a program intended to raise the driver's awareness of issues that may arise as part of student transportation. We'll also include concepts of defensive driving that are beneficial to all drivers. Some of the issues addressed in this training may seem rudimentary, but remember, you will be responsible for the well-being of children in your district, and it's important to review laws and technique to assure their safety. This videotape is divided into 5 sections. You may watch the whole tape in one sitting or just one section at a time. The sections include program overview, trip planning and pre-trip inspection, defensive driving, safety equipment, and accident scene management and situations. Upon the completion of this program and the reading of the accompanying manual, you should fill in the driver's information section and answer the review questions in the back of the book. If necessary, you may review any section of this video to complete the questions. As a van driver, you're the frontline person of your school district's public relations team. The van is a moving billboard with the name of the school district on display. The driver contributes to sound public relations by showing respect for property, obeying all traffic laws, and not challenging other drivers. When operating the van, the driver is representing the school district. It's vital that he or she obeys all traffic laws and follows the rules, regulations, and board policies of their school district. A good driver should develop a positive relationship with the parents and students. So remember to be kind, courteous, and maintain a good attitude while wearing a smile. As a van driver, you may be required to transport children with special needs. District-specific training for transporting these students is necessary, but it's beyond the scope of this video. This training should be addressed by your district. An important part of any trip is the pre-planning and preparation that must take place prior to departure. Taking the time to review the details of the trip, such as directions, vehicle needs, parking contingency plans, communication, and other details will help assure the smooth and successful completion of your trip. The following is an overview of the different aspects of trip planning that should be followed by the well-prepared driver. Each trip requires a trip ticket that must include the following information: date and time, destination, purpose and/or group, school district, driver name, total miles, meal stops listed if applicable, and the signature of the school bus owner or designee. Secure a map with written instructions to your destination. Review the map, and if it's not clear, check with the appropriate personnel. Establish the locations of food and restroom stops. Determine the need for money or a credit card to cover such things as tolls, parking, and fuel. Before leaving, you must complete a pre-trip inspection, which will be discussed later in the program. When loading cargo, store and secure it properly. Have all passengers fasten their seat belts. When you stop or arrive at your destination, park in a secure and safe area. If possible, park in such a way so that you'll not have to back up. After you've unloaded the vehicle, lock and secure it. Store the keys in a safe place and give the students instructions on departure time. Walk around the vehicle, inspecting for leaks and damage. When it's time to leave, the driver should walk around the vehicle one more time to inspect the van for damage or mechanical problems. Meet as a group at the vehicle at the designated time. Load and secure equipment and passengers and start the vehicle checking gauges and all lights. At the end of the trip, unload passengers at the designated drop-off location with proper supervision. Clean out the vehicle's interior, fill out your trip ticket, and complete any other required paperwork. It is the responsibility of the driver to complete a pre-trip inspection prior to transporting students. The intent is for the driver to familiarize themselves with the vehicle, its controls, and its condition. As you approach the van, you should be looking for any damage and making sure that it's not leaning to one side or the other. Also, be looking for any fluid leaks under the van. Walk completely around the van, checking for cracked or broken taillights, mirrors, and reflectors. And at the same time, look for any hazards around the vehicle that might cause problems when you depart. After you've unlocked the van, open the hood and check the following. The coolant level should be full. The engine oil level should be between add and full. The transmission fluid level should be checked according to your district policy. Make sure there are no moisture or fluid leaks on the engine. Check all the belts to make sure they're not cracked or frayed. The battery cable should be clean and secure. The brake fluid level should be full with no leaks. The power steering fluid level should be between add and full with no leaks. Once these items under the hood have been checked, move to the driver's seat. Start the engine. Look at all the gauges and/or indicator lights. Check the horn. Pump the brake pedal 3 times and hold it down for 5 seconds. The pedal should not fade. Set the parking brake and put the van in gear. It should not move. Check all the mirrors for adjustment. The windows should be clean and have no cracks. And the steering wheel should not have more than 10 degrees or 2 inches of play. At this point in your pre-inspection, turn on the low beam headlights and left turn signal. Return to the outside of the van and check the rear tires for 2/32 of an inch tread and proper tire pressure with no cuts or bulges. Check the rear door. Look at the taillights for illumination and check the left rear turn signal. The fuel tank should have no leaks and be properly secured. Check the body for damage. Listen for leaks in the exhaust system. As you move to the front of the van, check the front tires for 4/32 of an inch tread, proper pressure, and no cuts or bulges. At the front of the van, check the low beam headlights and the front left turn signal. Check to make sure all the doors and windows work properly, and examine the passenger seats and belts. Acquaint yourself with the location of the fire extinguisher and the first aid kit. On the second walk around, turn on the high beam headlights and the right turn signal. Block down the brake pedal. Check the high beam headlights and right turn signal on the front of the van. On the rear of the van, check the right turn signal and the brake lights for proper operation. Now this should complete your pre-inspection. Report any and all defects in writing to the appropriate person and keep 1 copy for yourself. Many of the issues discussed in this section may seem like common knowledge, but it never hurts to review standard operating procedures for safety purposes. Hands should be placed at the 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock position on the steering wheel. Van drivers should use the hand-over-hand steering technique when making right and left-hand turns. When pulling the van over to the right side of the roadway or to the curb, always check traffic first. Use the right turn signal to indicate the direction the van will be moving. After pulling over to the right side of the roadway, secure the van by placing it into park. Cancel the right turn signal and activate the hazard lights. When preparing to resume, check traffic to the front and the rear. Cancel the hazard lights and activate the left turn signal. Place the van into the proper gear. Make sure to double check the blind spot to the left side and towards the rear of the van before pulling out into the flow of traffic. Always pull to the nearest lane and be sure to deactivate the left turn signal. Continue to check traffic as you proceed. When making a right-hand turn, be sure to check traffic and reduce speed gradually. Activate the right turn signal at least 100 feet in advance. Position the van in the proper lane for the right-hand turn. Yield the right-of-way to traffic and pedestrians. Make the turn into the appropriate lane. Be sure to stay in the right lane before and after the turn, and never swing the van out before the turn. Be sure to check traffic and reduce your speed gradually. Activate the left turn signal at least 100 feet before the turn. Check for signs, lights, and traffic control devices. Position the van in the proper lane near the center line of the two-way roadway and keep the front wheels straight to prevent the possibility of the van being forced into oncoming traffic if struck in the rear. Be prepared to yield the right-of-way if necessary. Check the mirrors and roadway for other vehicles and pedestrians. Make the turn into the appropriate lane of traffic. Be sure to square off the turn in order to safeguard against cutting the turn too short. Squaring off the left turn will prevent a collision with another vehicle. Always make a complete, smooth stop. The wheels must not be rolling. A complete stop is for at least 3 seconds. Check traffic to the left, then right, and to the left again before proceeding. Stop the van in the proper position at traffic signals and stop intersections. Stop at the stop line. If there is no stop line, then stop before entering the crosswalk. If there is no crosswalk, then stop at a point before entering the intersection where you can see in all directions without any obstructions. This is called your point of vision. It's wise that you avoid making a double stop because it may cause the vehicle behind you to pull forward into the rear of your van. However, it may be necessary to make a double stop when you stop behind a stop line or crosswalk and still cannot see clearly. In this case, slowly pull the van forward and gradually come to a complete stop at a point before entering the intersection where you can see clearly in all directions. It's usually safer to drive in one lane and not change lanes. However, when it becomes necessary to change lanes, check traffic to the front and to the rear. Give the proper signal. Check the mirrors, especially on the side toward the lane the van will be entering. Remember to check the blind spot on the left when moving left and on the right when moving right. Sometimes, by leaning in your seat a little, you can see things in your mirror you would normally not be able to see. When lanes are clear, move gradually to the other lane. Keep pace with other traffic whenever possible without exceeding the posted speed limit. Cancel the turn signal when the lane change is complete, and check traffic as you proceed. There are times when it may be necessary to turn the van around. The best advice is to avoid backing whenever possible, since many accidents occur when a vehicle's backing up. If you must back the van, check traffic to the front and to the rear, especially looking for vehicles which may pull close to the rear of the van. Before backing, put your hazard lights on and sound your horn twice. Whenever possible, back into an area to the right of the van. Check traffic to the left at least twice while backing. An impatient motorist may try to pass the van while you're attempting to back up during your turnaround. Stop the van in the proper position. Never back the van more than necessary. Shift into a forward gear. Turn off the hazard lights and actuate the turn signal. Pull the van into the proper access lane. Check approaching traffic, the number of vehicles, the spacing between them, and which lane or lanes are filled. Accelerate to the speed of the freeway traffic while in the acceleration lane. Signal to warn other drivers that the van will be entering the freeway. Merge into traffic on the freeway and then cancel the turn signal. Check the traffic. Give adequate advance signal. Check the traffic again. Then pull into the deceleration lane. Slow the van to a safe speed. Check traffic as you proceed. Drivers of vans should avoid using a cellular telephone while the van is in motion, except for extreme emergencies. This concludes the section on defensive driving. Despite a driver's cautiousness, a mechanical breakdown or an accident may still occur. The driver must have knowledge of what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. When an unforeseen incident occurs, you should stop and secure the van. The four-way hazard lights should be the first item actuated in an emergency procedure involving a stopped vehicle. Red reflectors or lighted flares must be placed to warn other motorists of a disabled vehicle. To light a flare, or fusee as they're called, hold it firmly in one hand. Twist and lift the cap with your other hand or flip off the plastic lid. Strike the fusee across the cap, away from your face or body. Point the ignited end away from your body so sparks will not ignite your clothing. When stopped on the roadside for 10 minutes or more, place 3 lighted fusees or reflectors on the roadway at designated locations. One should be placed on the traffic side of the vehicle within 10 feet of the rear, one at a distance of 40 paces or approximately 100 feet to the rear of the vehicle, and one at a distance of 40 paces or about 100 feet in front of the vehicle. If you're stopped on a divided highway or one-way street, fusees or reflectors should be placed on the traffic side of the van 10 feet to the rear. 2 more should be placed at 100 and 200 feet to the rear of the van. If the vehicle is stopped on a hill or curve, warn oncoming traffic by placing fusees or reflectors 100 to 500 feet to the rear of the vehicle. The next piece of safety equipment we must discuss is the chemical fire extinguisher. The following is a section of video supplied by a fire extinguisher manufacturer.
All school buses are required to have one 5-pound standard BC rated dry chemical fire extinguisher. On a properly charged extinguisher, the needle on the pressure gauge will be pointed upward in the different colored zone. A bus could also have an ABC rated dry chemical fire extinguisher, which would also meet the requirements of the regulation. The ratings stand for the type of fire that can be extinguished. A rating is for paper, wood, trash, and cloth. B rating is for liquid fuels such as gasoline and diesel fuel. C rating is for electrical fires. It is important to know the proper way to use the fire extinguisher. First, pull the pin. the plastic seal is easily broken. Secondly, the can must be held in a vertical position to allow the dry chemical powder to fall to the bottom of the can and then be forced up the tube and out the nozzle. Then, squeeze the two handles together to discharge the extinguisher, preferably with the wind at your back. Aim the nozzle near the base of the fire, but be careful not to spread liquids if it is a liquid fire. This extinguisher will last only about 25 to 30 seconds, and after use, it must be recharged. We now can go to Katie Fire Equipment, who is set up to give a full demonstration on how to use the dry chemical extinguisher.
This is a 10-pound ABC dry chemical fire extinguisher. The directions are on the front here. Basically what this says is we're going to use the word pass. We're going to pull the pin, such as right here at the top. We're going to pull, we're going to aim, squeeze, and sweep. Keep the fire extinguisher upright at all times. I'll show you how to use it at this time. We're going to pull this ring pin, break the seal. We're going to aim. We're going to keep the wind to our back with a downward motion, let the chemical do the work at about an 8 to 10 foot range.
In the event of an accident, there are certain responsibilities and procedures you must follow. First, remain calm. Don't show nervousness. And remember that prior preparations will help. Plan ahead. After the accident, stop the vehicle, set the parking brake, put the van in park or gear, actuate hazard lights, shut off the engine, and remove the key. Reassure the students. Check for injuries and be clear in your commands. If students are injured, obtain assistance from bystanders and administer necessary first aid. Be alert for smoke or possible fire. Check for a ruptured fuel tank or lines and look for smoke. Decide whether or not to evacuate. If you decide to evacuate, locate a safe spot to evacuate and get away from the vehicle, taking the fire extinguisher and the first aid kit if time permits. Protect the scene from further accidents by employing safety devices as described earlier. Locate witnesses. This is extremely important for factual evidence. The positions of the vehicles or road marks are generally not as important as good eyewitnesses. Contact the school and law enforcement officials by radio or by phone if available. Seek assistance from a passing motorist or a bystander. Only as a last resort, send a child with an emergency assistance card. Remind them to walk facing traffic and not to enter a home, but to have the owner make the emergency call for them. Do not discuss the accident with other drivers or bystanders, but do cooperate with the investigating officer. Be factual. Don't rationalize and give your driver's license number, insurance company, or school. Provide a list of students, including name, age, phone number, and birthdays. There should be a plan for working with the school district to continue transportation of the students. Remember, the driver of a vehicle involved in a motor vehicle accident that exceeds $400 in property damage or causes a personal injury must file the motor vehicle crash report form with the BMV no later than 6 months after the accident if the other driver is uninsured. This concludes the Safety and Emergency Procedures section. In this section, we'll discuss a series of situations that you may encounter on the open road. Keeping space between your van on all sides protects you by increasing your reaction time, stopping distance, and visibility while decreasing the chances of someone hitting you. The driver of the white van should leave a space of at least 2 to 3 seconds travel time between his or her vehicle and the vehicle ahead. You could use the tree, which is a stationary object, to check your following distance. The van driver should realize that the blue car is tailgating, and the van should decrease speed to allow the tailgater to pass. The change in speed will also help to get the red truck out of the blind spot of the van. Knowing pavement markings and executing proper turns at intersections can keep you, the van driver, out of many accidents. In this situation, the van driver is traveling on a one-way street and about to turn left onto another one-way street. The lines separating the traffic on a one-way street are white. For the van driver to execute a proper left turn, he or she should turn into the closest lane. In our next situation, the van driver is again on a one-way street in the center lane of a three-lane road about to turn right onto another one-way street. For the van driver to execute a proper right-hand turn, he must turn into lane A, and the blue car must turn into lane B. In this intersection, the van driver is on a two-way street, turning onto a one-way street. For the van to make a proper left-hand turn, it would move into lane A. This situation has our van driver turning left onto a two-way street from a one-way street. The van driver would execute a proper left turn by moving into lane B. The color of the lines separating traffic on a two-way street are yellow. In this intersection, the van driver is in the center lane of a three-lane, one-way street preparing to turn left. The van would make a proper left-hand turn by turning into lane B. In this situation, the van driver is in a left turn only lane. To execute a proper turn, the van would turn into lane A. In this intersection, the van driver is on a three-lane, one-way street turning left onto another one-way street. A proper left-hand turn would be for the driver to turn into lane A. Most accidents happen at intersections, so extreme caution and good defensive driving techniques should be followed. What makes this intersection dangerous for the van driver is the building obstructing the view of traffic to the right. A good defensive driving technique in a situation like this is to slow down and cover the brake. When driving on unfamiliar roads, if you miss your intended freeway exit, you should never stop and back up. Rather, you should continue to the next exit. Get off and then come back. Downed electrical lines in a storm or accident can be an extreme hazard. If an electrical line snaps and falls on your van, never get out of your vehicle. Protect the scene by activating your hazard lights. Get help using your cell phone or a passing motorist. In this situation, your van has dropped off the right side of the road while you momentarily took your eyes off the road to deal with a disturbance in the rear of the van. You should never jerk the van back onto the road. An overcorrection could occur, causing the van to roll over. What you should do is slow down, come to a complete stop, then check for traffic and pull back onto the roadway. A heavy rain has occurred and a creek or river has flooded across the roadway. You should never drive through water. It may sweep the van off the road. Instead, turn around and go the other way. If a tornado or a funnel cloud is heading directly towards you, evacuate your passengers into a low area, checking for possible flooding or water dangers. It's never safer to stay in the van. This concludes this section of the video. You should now answer the questions in the back of the book, fill in the driver's section, and submit the booklet to the District Transportation Supervisor for processing. After all components and the included application are completed, the application and review guide are to be submitted to the Regional Ohio Pre-Service Instructor for review. Drivers that have successfully completed all components receive a certificate of completion. That certificate, when signed and authorized by the employing superintendent, will serve to meet the driver certification requirements for vehicles other than school buses as set forth in ORC 3327.10. Good luck.